Brian talk explodes. Now, this has set the rumour mill alight in the NRL. Rumours are, there's been tweets, there's been denials that Brian To'o is not happy at the Panthers. I think it may be in terms of the money he's on, but this is running wild now. We've heard this probably a couple of weeks ago. We thought it was just rumours, but it seems to have picked up some traction, Gordy. Thoughts on this?
Not the first player ever to go into a rep camp and you start hearing the rumours of what people are on, and he's got a couple of mates that have gone to the Dogs and they would have just sat there and chewed the fat. And with obviously Lomax, with the prices that go on now and it all gets put in a paper, maybe he's decided that he's better than that.
That's the mail going around.
First, let's get this straight, calls. What is the actual mail that we're hearing?
The mail's going around is what Gordy alluded to, that he's gone into camp and there's been a bit of talk about what other players earn and what he earns, and the fact that he is the game's best winger, and he may, or he may not, depending on who you believe, see it as he's being underpaid. And there's been 6 Panthers players in recent years, you think about it, that have gone to different clubs for more money. Crichton, Luai, Turova's going, James Fisher-Harris, who else has gone? Kickow, Burton, they've all gone for bigger money. This guy's won 3 on his way to 4 premierships, and perhaps he might be looking at what's out there. The problem is he's got a contract until the end of 2027 that he signed in good faith, and Matt Cameron, the boss of the football out there at Penrith, has come out and said that he's not being shopped around and he won't be going anywhere, which should be where the story ends. But we're all here and we know rugby league and we know a contract doesn't mean anything if a player agitates to get out. So I guess we have to wait and see. We haven't heard from Brian on this at this point in time. So, this is just a rumour at this stage. But yes, it's caught fire.
Certainly Gordy's right. They go into camp, these players, and they talk about endorsements and match payments, money, all sorts. Every element of the game they talk about. And when they get back to their clubs, they realise that they're being underdone, undercooked, underpaid, and then they start to get a bit agitated. And I think To'o's gone into camp, spoken to a few players. Well, I know he has. And he's on 620, Brian, but is he worth more? Others are getting more money inside that Blues camp.
Well, that's the question. He is on 625, 625,000. Listen, I think he's worth more. What do you guys think he's worth?
Of course he's worth more. Look, if you look at what some of the other players earn, he's the best winger in the game. He's worth more, but he signed a contract in good faith. You know what I mean? And I know it goes both ways. Clubs do it to players. Clubs, get disappointed in players and they start shopping them around. But look, if he had a problem with what he was earning, maybe he should have spoken about that during negotiations. That's where it should stay. You lose faith in the contract system in the NRL these days, because we all know that it's not worth the paper it's written on. If someone wants to agitate, there are ways out. There's supposed to be rules in place where rival clubs aren't allowed to talk, and we all know that it happens.
Well, how do you fix it?
How do you fix it? The NRL comes out and says if you sign a contract, you complete the contract. That's how it's not hard to fix. A contract's a contract. 2 parties go into it, and if the NRL was to stand up and say, well, we're not going to have it anymore, and put some proper guidelines there to stop this happening, you could stop it overnight.
He shouldn't even be talking to anyone else.
Well, we don't know that he is.
Yeah.
But Braith, you know how the game works.
If he hadn't have spoken to anyone else, or if anyone from his camp hadn't spoken to anyone else, this wouldn't be a thing.
No, I went through it in the Super
right.
League. Everybody's wage was put in the paper, right? And there was angst and there was jealousy and everybody's talking about on who's on what. I was on a tour with a couple of Broncos. They found out. They rang Wayne on my phone. I think I'm still trying to pay that bill back in the day.
You'd be paying.
Yeah,
you've got the money to pay that bill.
So, there were 2 players that I played with that heard and come back and do it. So, I don't think you can stop it.
Well, there's 7 Panthers who are on more money. So he's the 8th highest Panther. So more than half the team are on more money than Brian To'o.
But
we should got to remember, he gets 90,000 a year, though.
A big part of the reason.
He gets 90K for Origin. So that props up his money well over 700.
He makes a valid point, right? So it's like the clubs right now, right? They can go sign the player. He was happy to sign it, right? He was happy. He probably, I don't know who his manager, but if they shopped it around, that was probably the best price for Brian To'o at the time.
Or maybe not the best price. Maybe he decided he wanted to be a part of history. And he's been a part of history.
That's
He's
the
left
thing,
a legacy.
Crawls, what he would have done, and this is what pisses him off a little bit, is that he signed for unders because they wanted to keep that team together. They wanted to win premierships, and they've gone on to do that. Then a few of the other guys have moved on now, and they've left him.
But that's business, bro.
It is business.
That's how they go about
I'm
it.
not saying
Clubs, well, they won't dud their own players,
Yeah.
but they will tell fibs to keep them. That's how it works.
Yeah. Well, he is a great player. Like, he is a great player. And
Champion player.
To be honest with you, not only is he just a winger, he's just a winger, but what he does at the start of the sets, he's a great finisher. But he starts to the sets really compliment and credit the forward pack at the Panthers and would any other team. Like, to get the start of a set that he gives them, the quick play the ball, the elbows and knees relentlessly.
He's valuable at
his
every club.
fitness, the metres he runs every game. He's
the back
like a
line.
forward. He's a winger and a forward.
Braith, in the recent Origin series, like, for all the praise, and they deserved it, the New South Wales pack got.
Yes.
It was To'o and Dylan Edwards leading the back that got them going. He's like buying a front rower and a winger.
Starts your sets, he's so powerful. I think there's only one guy in Origin that's got more metres, and that might be Wendell Saylor. And he was a big body, so he's amazing. You could only imagine most clubs would have a look at him.
Well,
But they're not allowed under the rules.
Let's just talk hypothetically. We know they're not allowed, right?
Okay,
And we know
sorry. Most clubs won't have a look at him.
we know they're not allowed. We know this shouldn't even be a conversation. But the fact of the matter is that the rumours are running wild, and there is quite a bit coming out of a few camps. And we know a lot of people, between all of us, that there is some talk going around. Hypothetically, if he does move on, I know one club that could do with him, and his mate's going there next year, the Tigers. And I know, well, I don't know, but I would think that he'd be over $1 million player there, or close to.
Do you really think they pay him $1 million, Braith? The West Tigers have the money. They've shifted a few players.
We just said he's not only a winger, he's like a front rower.
I can't.
He's as
pay $1 million.
valuable. Well, what were they going to offer Stefano to stay?
I can't.
$1 million?
Any winger $1 million. I'm
Eight
sorry.
to 900.
He's not any winger, though.
Eights I could probably live with, but I mean, obviously,
What about
that's
900?
Happy, Taruva.
Well, that's 200,000 more.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
So
he's
he's got 5
not
million,
any
there's
winger.
$1 million.
I would assume, like, a bloke like that, if he went to the West Tigers, he could help change their entire game, because the way that he can get the sets started and teach other young blokes, well, they've got Taruva going there next year too. He would be outstanding for them if they could make a deal happen. I just can't believe it would happen.
He's reliable. He's not a risk or a gamble in my eyes. He's one of the players in our competition. That's why he was the first pick for New South Wales, and Maguire wanted him in his side, because he's relentless, he's consistent, and he plays at an elite level every week. And he's a big reason why Penrith have been successful for as long as they have. So you would pay overs for him. You know, often in the past, the Tigers and other clubs that are struggling pay overs for players that are not his level. But you do it for a player that is of his calibre.
If he's on 625, right? He gets 90 for Origin. Takes him to say 710.
Yep.
They'd have to pay 900
Yeah.
to get him out of the club. He's not going to go for 750 or 800, is he? He'd want 900. And I don't think
Well, he can still play Origin from West Tigers too.
But he runs that risk though,
Well,
Claus.
I don't know.
He runs
He
that
does.
risk.
Look, I'll tell you another club.
It's
the
not
Bulldogs.
automatic,
Josh-
Braith. You go there to... hate to
Josh
say it, you go
Addo-Carr's
there
another
to...
player that's
say
off
it.
contract at the
We
end
go
of
there
next
to...
year.
Your career does tend to slide, doesn't it? Let's be honest. Look at Appy. Look at Appy.
Well, Appy is a very good case in point, because he's nearly been the best hooker in the competition this
They
year.
didn't want a
and
bar
he's
of him.
Completely missed the Origin series. The Bulldogs are the other club. Like Josh Addo-Carr's off contract at the end of next year. He's on around 600,000, if you believe what the reports are.
So where's this story come from, do we think?
Well, we
Is
just
it a
spoke
club?
about it. It came out of Origin, mate.
But is it a club also behind it? Is there any agitation from a club? Is it someone trying to destabilise Penrith? Where do we think it's actually... is it Brian from camp, or is there more to it?
That's a really good point, because the concern for Penrith would be, at this stage of the season, I've seen it happen 1,000 times. Players who are off contract at the end of the year, and you're coming towards the pointy end, big end of season games, and their mind gets taken away into contract negotiations, and suddenly their form falls off a cliff. And that would have to be a concern for the Panthers right now. That's why they'd want to get out there and nip this in the bud, because it could be ongoing and fester into the big end of season games. And he's so crucial to that team.
I can't for the life of me see the Penrith Panthers letting Brian To'o go.